So I'm just going to continue to etch my name, etch my name in stone, but feel it. And it's the same thing about success. It comes, but people don't see the weight that you've got to carry when you're carrying it. And yeah, you're going to have people around you, and there's an expectation, especially most likely if you're from the ends. If you're from the ends, there's an expectation that you owe. Every time I become successful, so for every win I have, it literally breaks me.
Yes, Mr. Wallen.
Yes.
Back again.
Pleasure, man.
You know what? Before we even start this, you're the only guest that we've had on this podcast twice.
See it there.
And at the 2 locations.
Worthy candidate.
What do you think of the new settings?
It's nice, man. It's nice. I like you like doing your thing, man. It's good, man.
We're trying, man. We're trying. We are trying. So, look, we've had a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
But before we start, 6-book deal.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Boy, listen. Give God the glory, Blessed, man. In my publishing company, my first book deal was for 3 books. So I gave them their 3 books, as you know. So 3 books complete. So I wasn't necessarily out of contract. I was still sort of writing, but I never had anything on paper, so to speak, for them to say, boom, we're going to continue with you. And then they dropped a 6-book deal on me. 6 books, 6 figures. Says yeah. The thing is, we've all got a story to tell in it. So there's just loads of stuff that I'd already written books anyway, to be fair, but just hadn't completed them, even though I was going to get them published anyway. But the fact that they gave me a 6-book deal just means that I'm tied to them for the next couple of years. And we're just reaching parts of the world that we hadn't reached with my new 6 books that come out.
Yeah.
So it's good, man. It's good. And the publishing company, they believe in me. DMJ Publishing, they believe in me. I believe in them because they're a company that understands my ethos. So I don't just write for the sake of writing. You know what I mean? I write from my heart, and I write from my soul, and it works for them because I'm telling my story. And so I always say to other youths, every single one's got a story to tell. Yeah. It just so happens that mine is structured enough to be published, but anybody else can publish theirs and structure theirs and publish theirs as well. So it's a good look though, man. It's a good look. And also part of my legacy in it. At some point I'll have 9 books out in the market. I've already, I think my last check was 40,000 units worldwide. And so at some point my legacy continues to be cemented. So my children, my grandchildren were able to look back and say, that was my dad, or that was my granddad, or that was my great granddad. And I always say that I have to become part of the history that the future is going to read about, because I feel like I have a story to tell, and I feel like it being my story and my journey, it's relatable, and we all can relate to great writers or great individuals or great heroes like Marcus Garvey's and Martin Luther King, the Booker T. Washington's. But the chances are we're never going to meet them because they've all passed. We can always read their great works. And the difference with us now in our generation, that we have the platforms and the abilities to write stories or to write autobiographies or to just to write stuff down and get it published, and people out there can relate to you, can actually see you, actually meet you, can actually talk to you. It's just a physical thing around seeing someone that inspires. So I'm just going to continue to etch my name in stone, brother. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? Because the last episode we done was we went deep, right? And we went through the journey, but we've gone in so far, right? And we haven't really introduced you. So for those that may be listening, may not know you, who are you and what do you do?
I'm just a humble soldier, I'm from Handsworth, born and bred in Birmingham. I went to Westminster School in Handsworth, went to St. George's in Newtown. I grew up on the ends. I'm a 70s child, so I grew up in the era of Rasta. So the basic principles of Rastafari I followed. And so I grew up in that era. So these are basic, strong fundamentals. And with that, And I had a very strong family as well. Very, very strong family. Absolutely iron, solid mother who kept, all of us I'm a large family, kept us all together. So I just grew and I just worked hard. There's times when I fell off, times when I wasn't focused. But I think the foundations that my mum had instilled in me always meant that I was always going to become great, so to speak. And she always reminded me of how great I am as a youth growing up. Sometimes I didn't recognize my own greatness. So it took other people to say, oh, Lego certain things, like you're greater than this, you're better than this, you're stronger than this, you're wiser than this. So with all the struggles of growing up on the ends and the bits and bobs that come with that, I kind of see myself through the grey areas. And fortunate, and I've also been a strong believer in the Almighty. So with that, with these foundations in me, I just continue to try and grow from strength and do the strength and try and just be the best man I can be. You know what I mean? Not perfect, but certainly be the best man I can be.
Yeah.
And it just pays off later on in life. Yeah. Saying that though, had I did things better earlier, I feel like I would have been further ahead. But in foresight, you just don't know where you're gonna be. You know what I mean? So you just got to be the best as you can be at this point.
Well, nothing comes before its time.
True.
Nothing comes before its time, and the time is now for you to, start pursuing all these things and etching out your history. But there's a few things we want to cover today, right? There's a few areas, and I think you're the man to really cover these areas. Okay. And it's fitting because this 6-book deal, all of the stuff that you've been doing, the last books as well. And we were talking about the way to success, and we talked about it in the last episode, but there's something and I sent it to you, right? But I want to play it again, right? So I'm going to play this because this just made me start thinking about the way to success. So I'm going to see if this plays. So let me see if this clocks in properly.
Referencing that to concerts. They do the concerts. Yeah. They do all this stuff. They get the love. They get the dopamine. And then all of a sudden there's silence there. Yeah, yeah. And I don't even think, as I was saying, sorry to get cut off with me and my brain just always. I didn't even, I was explaining about the people that check in. You get what I'm saying? Because not too many people think, oh, I've got 1,000 people love you. People love me when I'm here and I'm working. And you're right. When you just shut off the work, everyone, I need you. They don't need you. They only need you when you're here. That's why.
So when I heard that, right, because basically this is a podcast that I listen, right, and Tricky was talking about, some of the stuff that he's done, O2 Arena and the interviews, but then no one sees what happens afterwards, right? And then it made me start thinking about the weight of success. Because people see the glamour, but then when behind closed doors, no one sees the struggles. True. And also when you're, doing well, everyone's around you. Yeah. But when you're not doing so well, who are the ones that are checking in?
True.
So I wanted really your views on.
Yeah, man, Tricky's spot on. You know what I mean? But I know the difference between likes and love. So if I get 1 million likes on an Instagram story, I know it's just likes. It's not necessarily love because there's a significant difference. So it's a journey that most of us, if not all of us, are going to go through. That the weight of success is a heavy weight, and I say it 1,000 times. The weight of, I think I always use this as an example. £1 million in cash weighs about 20 kilograms. Now people will see the glory of being a millionaire, but to carry 20 kilograms for a very long time, start taking its toll on you. You're going to feel that. I don't care who you are. You're going to feel it at some point. You know what I mean? You're going to feel it. And it's the same thing about success. It comes, but people don't see the weight that you've got to carry when you're carrying it. And yeah, you're going to have people around you, and there's an expectation, especially most like if you're from the ends. If you're from the ends, there's an expectation that you owe because you're from the same place as somebody else, or because you're the one to fix this. Now you're in that position, or you're the one to do that because you're in that position. You have to be able to manage those very, very pressures. And people do. There is actually a saying that people only love you when you're famous. And prior to that, they probably won't. But you see, that don't really faze me, because I always worked on quality over quantity. And though I'm popular, I'm very private, and I'm very, I love my solace, I love my own space, I love my own time. And though I might know a lot of people might know me, I say no in inverted commas, I know that they literally know of me, but they don't know me, so they're not going to see the deeper things that happen with me. Whereas my close ones that are there from day one, that stay here now, understand the journey, so their expectations of me are probably slightly less, because they understand the whole journey. They understand that I don't wake up looking like this. I have to get myself ready. And the same way with success, I didn't wake up with this golden spoon or inherited money. It was what I had to work hard and hard and hard to get to the way I am today, and that comes with success as well. So yeah, man, it's a journey, man. It's not easy out there though, honestly, because it comes with so many problems. I think I've said to you before, it's not much different from a funeral. I remember when I buried my brother, and the thousands of people that turned up to the funeral, and everyone's going to come and say the same cliche words. Yeah, man, I'll be there for you, man. I'm there, man. I got you. Once that casket is closed, once the church gone, once it's in the grave, weeks after that, bro, you literally see no one that you saw at the church. No one's going to call you and say, how you feeling, how you doing? And I went through that firsthand. And realized that even when I went through my stage of depression, I really and the depression was my first stage of depression or struggling with my mental health. The first stage took place after my brother died. So after my brother died, I realized that I had a church, nearly over 2,500 people in the church. We had to feed about another good 1,000 people or more. And I swear, if I could tell you, if I said a handful of people up to this day had hollered at me, say to me, how you doing? I'd be lying. But a handful of people hollered at me and said, yo, I heard your books are firing, yo. I got this sort of project, interested in investing. I hear people holler at me and say, oh, do you want to invest? Do you want to become business partners? Do you want to come this, do you want to come that? But they'd never holler and say, oh, Terry, how you doing, man? How you doing? I know that, your brother's passing and you finding your brother dead at home must have had a serious impact on you.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen, bro. A lot of people only know you when you're famous. So I just stick around, I keep my energies tight. I fully believe in energies. I swear. So I don't surround myself in energies that are not conducive to my own at all.
Why do you think that is though? Like, if we just strip it back to the community, our community that we live in and our culture, because look, we have candid discussions here, and we've got Kings here and Ruddy's in here as well. And I'm going to be open and just say, when things are not going wrong in my life and in their life, I reach out, right? Because sometimes you don't see yourself, innit? You don't see yourself what things are happening. But I know it's because we've got little close circle. But why do you think it's hard, especially even for men then, to reach out to even someone like you then? Because people see you, you're always smiling. When I see you in Asda, you're always smiling and everything.
Big up Asda.
So big them up. Well, it'd be hard, right? It'd be difficult to go up to you and say, is everything all right? I don't know, it's just...
Yeah. But listen, you can polish your car today and it breaks down tomorrow. Just because the car's shiny, it doesn't mean the car's moving. Because a shiny car with no engine, but still a shining car with no engine. So though we all know, but there's none of us are different. We've all gone through our struggles and our trials. It's a known fact that none of us have gone through this plain sailing. We've all had our ups and we've all had our downs. But I think as a community, more time we just see what we want to see. We want to see we want to relate to what's colourful, and kind of pretend and I suppose some of it's to our own detriment, because sometimes we only show our pretty side, and we don't, especially as men, we don't show our vulnerable side. We don't show that, I'm also human, I also cry, I also have hurt. Sometimes we don't show our own, so people generally believe nothing's wrong with him. I spoke for me because because I had a platform, I was able to continue to smile because I'm a serial smiler. But I was also able to use my platform to tell everyone openly I was in counseling, to tell everyone that I struggle with mental health, to tell everyone like about my own personal demons. You get me? So I use that platform, but not everyone's got the platform to share that. So people just see, oh, he's grinning, he must be good. But the reality is, obviously, as we know, it's not always that. As a community, though, I think as a community or young black men or black kings, I think we just struggle. We just struggle to be open because of ego, and also because of generational stuff. And we've been hit with the belt and told to be a man because we're crying. You know, sometimes we've got to break some of these generational taught lessons and cry because we are men. You know, we're beaten, so don't cry. Be a man. But the fact is that you're a man because you have tears and because you can cry, because you have emotions. So why shouldn't you cry? Why should you hold it back? So I think a lot of it's generational as well. You know what I mean? So it goes it's deep rooted, man. It's deep rooted into our psyche as well.
Well, I think as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but there's a little bit of, you don't want people to treat you differently. So you've openly said that you've struggled with your mental health, but have you been treated differently, or do you feel that you've been treated differently by people around you once you've opened up?
I think for the better, though.
Okay.
Yeah, not for the worse. I think for the better, because I think people have a clearer understanding of my truth, clearer understanding. I think before, people always assume I'm always ready to go. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. I think once you say, today I got counselling, so I'm not doing, are you in counselling? Yeah, what for? And obviously you open enough to speak about it. So for me personally, people have treated me better once I become, if not necessarily better, people have understanding me more once I become more open about my truth.
And you see, with this success thing, because not to segue off, you know, the mental health side of it, but sometimes, because you mentioned about people staying, like, you know, you're closed, and sometimes people stay silent as well. What we've got, and look, with your books and everything as well, you're rising and becoming successful. But we've got this cancel culture that's coming in, and that impacts on people's mental health as well, right? And people feel that they can't openly come out and say things. You know, what's your thoughts on?
Well, it's in the cancel culture exists, bro. Like, I was like, the whole cancel culture kind of trickled its way towards me recently, based on some comments that I made about my choices in dating. And people are hollering at me, but I stand 10 toes down, bro. I stand on my truth. So if you cancel me, doesn't mean you're going to cancel me. And I'm certainly not going to cancel myself. I'm a circle, I'm an inner circle that really matters. They're not going to cancel me. So I feel like we should stand on our truth, but I think there's so much pressure out there to think, well, don't say that because of this. No, I think one has to be somewhat media trained and know what to say and what not to say, or how to say it, I should say. Like, and I speak my truth, and not everyone's going to be happy with it. Like, that's okay though, because not everyone's going to like me.
Yeah.
But why would I be vexed by that? Because I don't like everybody. You know what I mean? So the cancel culture exists, and I think, we've got to kind of tread lightly when you're in certain positions. But it didn't stop Marcus Garvey, it didn't stop Martin Luther King. Oh yeah, they got shot in the end. But I'm saying they still done enough great work, with a fantastic legacy, and made changes before all that happened.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop our greats. It didn't stop our greats, the great kings on earth. It didn't stop them, bro. So it's not going to stop me. Like, I have no fear. I feel like I want to say something. I know it might not sit pretty with everyone, but it's said, innit? Like, let's have dialogue. Let's have dialogue. Because 9 times out of 10 times, I'm speaking about my personal experience, and you can't tell me about me. You can't tell me how I feel. You can't tell me about my choices. It might not sit well with you, but you can't tell me about my choices because they're my choices. No, I'm not saying it must be yours. I'm saying they're mine. Yeah. So live with it or leave me alone.
Yeah. Do you think it's the way how people say things? Because, right, it's when you're delivering a message, if it's a hurtful message, then there could be a problem with it. But I think sometimes it's in the delivery of the message.
I agree. That's why I said, like, you have to be somewhat media trained to know how to say things and how best to say things, when to say things. So you just have to know how. Yeah, you have to know how.
Yeah. Because, you know, when I look at this cancel culture as well, how I look at it, it's, and I could pull it like a football match then, right? There's rules in a football game, right? You dribble the ball, you kick it in the goal, and that's what's said. But then if you start changing the rules, no one knows, you know, how to play the game. And when I'm looking at the cancel culture now, it's like the rules keep getting changed. So now no one knows what to say. You don't know whether to say this, because 10 years ago, if you say something 10 years ago and say it now, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But then how do you navigate it? Because as I said, you got your 6-book deal and you've talked about being media trained. But that alone is pressure, because you're starting to, I don't know whether you have to walk on eggshells, or you don't know whether to say something because it might impact on, you know, your books or even the sales of your books or what have you. Or are you unfiltered?
I believe in my team. And when I made that statement that I made the other day, I had those very calls like, particular individuals might not want to buy your book now you've said that, or blah, blah, blah. Which I think was a bit dumb anyway, because I don't write books and sell books to catch women or to date women. I write books so you can read them and so you can be inspired or so you can relate. Yeah. So my personal choice on who I won't date and who I will date was my personal choice. But in terms of being media trained, it's only because I know what platforms to speak certain things and what platforms perhaps not to mention that on. But it's still my truth. Just because I didn't say it today, doesn't mean it's still not my truth. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you just have to know. But it exists, and it is going to be, I think it's probably get worse before it ever gets better. Yeah. I always believe that us as kings, like, stand on our truth or stand on our truth. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because the rules, you know, you're right, the rules are going to change. Yeah. But once again, the rules are written by man. So I'm a man, so why can't I change the rules?
Do you know what though? When you say that, it's going back to, okay, then, you know, when people say things, right? Do you feel that we have to go into detail and explain, or should we have to explain? We shouldn't. Can we just say things and say that's our truth, or do we have to put some context behind it?
I think it always best to give it some context and expand the narrative, just so people can kind of understand where you come from. I think sometimes when we say things, because it's probably less about you and more about the person receiving the message. Yeah. So when you say something based on that person's situation or lifestyle, whatever it is, they're going to receive it based on them. Even though you know within your mind what you meant, it's not necessarily how the other person's going to take it. Yeah. So sometimes it's just to ease another person's thought process, or to educate them. Kind of more time you're educating people as well. It's worth, you know, just putting it into a little bit of context. So someone say, okay, I understand where Bob's coming from. Fine. Yeah. It's his thing. Not this. I don't have to agree. And that's fine. Like, you don't have to agree. Like, that's cool to not agree. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree. A little bit of context can help.
I think it depends on the audience. Yeah. Like, if we're in a room now with us Mandem,
yeah.
You don't really need to explain much.
Yeah.
But on a more bigger platform, and you're reaching out to a wider audience, some people that ain't gonna have no understanding.
True.
So that's the people that you might have to break down.
Yeah. Explanation. That's true. And more time though, when it comes to platforms, you're not always gonna know who's listening. You're not always gonna know who's listening. You don't know if it's the non-educated or the highly educated. You just don't know who's listening. And you just put it out there. Like, I don't know who's gonna end up buying my book. Obviously, we try and target audiences, but I don't know who's gonna buy my book. I never thought I'd be selling books in Australia. You understand? Yeah. Who has any interest in reading that youth book in Australia? Yeah. I never think I'd sell books in India either. Yeah. So sometimes you just don't know who your audience is. Yeah. I mean, they read it, but by all means, if they read stuff and they're unhappy with it, drop it in the reviews. Like, I'll respond if I have to. You know what I mean? But I'm happy to dialogue, and I think dialogue is good as well, because sometimes you can accept that maybe your delivery is wrong, and someone can say that to you, and I can say, yeah, you're not fair enough. Still my truth, but I could have just said it slightly different. So I'm always gonna encourage dialogue. You know, let's have the conversation. You don't agree, I agree. So let's have the conversation. Hopefully, we can meet on middle ground. If we don't, then you're gonna get on with your life, and I'm gonna get on with mine. But, you know, it's tough out there, man. It's not a walk in the park. You know, people might think it's tough.
Oh no, listen, honestly, then, because the first books, right? I don't know how all this publishing thing goes, but it's still on the topic of this cancel culture. Your first books, they were talking about really you, innit? And your journey. And then you've got the Truth Planner. Right. With these 6 books that you've got now, this new deal, because as you've mentioned, there's people in Australia buying your books. Now, when you're penning these books, are you still keeping to your truth, or are you now starting to write to the audience?
I don't know who my audience is, bro. I swear, I don't know who my audience is. As I said, from the publishing company point of view, they may target, you know, we're targeting 18 to 40, whatever it is, yeah. But then 18 to 40 is just an age bracket. Imagine there are millions of different aspects of 18 to 40-year-olds. You got 18-year-olds who are highly educated, 18-year-olds who are poor as hell. Might be the first book they ever read. 18-year-olds who have read 1,000 books before they read mine. So that's just age brackets. But I don't write to the audience. I just write what's true to me. Yeah. And then the audience will gravitate. I guess it's like a song. Yeah. You know what I mean? You sing a song and it goes over your head, but it resonates with you. But you just sang your song, innit? Yeah. Like, one of my 6 books, I'm writing a book on grief. A lot of people are going to be able to relate to it. But there's some people who've never gone through the grief process. But a lot of people have. You know, I've got to write a book on grief. Why? Because it's my journey. You know, I've got another book called How I Became King. Once again, How I Became King. Once again, I can speak of my journey of how I feel from an historical point up to today, how I became a king. You know, some are going to relate. Some people who are not of colour probably not able to relate to it. Some people will. I'm just going to keep writing, and who likes it will gravitate to it. Who doesn't won't.
Have you got like the titles of those 6 books, or is it the publishing company? Have they give you full range and just said, look, six books, and
I'm like a new trend and that I'm free in the middle now, bro. I'm free to do what I like. I can go in defense, I can go down the wing, or I can go through midfield. Like, my publishing company just give me free range. They kind of help me in terms of structuring, but my titles are all my titles. I might have a number of titles for the one book, and I might send it to them. But before that, to be fair, before it even gets to publish company, but once again, my circle's really tight, including my daughter, my daughter's mum, and so on, and my cousin. Like, my circle's really tight. So even with back going to cancel culture, even when I'm writing stuff, more time, even if I, like I say, if in doubt, stay out. So if I'm writing stuff and I think, I write it, I send it to my daughter, send it to somebody else. So what do you think of this? And they might say, yeah, man, that sounds like you, or you're probably close to the edge there. Yeah. Why don't you just try this, stick to that, but just try this. So even with book titles, I send titles to my team and say, what do you think of this title of book? So they say, oh, that's rubbish, man. Like, nah, it's too long, it's too tongue-tied. Try that instead. And then, you know, once again, because I believe in them and they believe in me. For me personally, if it works with them, I feel comfortable to go with it. And then I'll send it to my published company and say, oh, these are the titles. Yeah. They're like, yeah, great stuff, man, great stuff. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I understand that. Or, what does that mean? I explain why I'm using that title. Yeah. And they say, okay, cool. Yeah, cool.
So what is the writing process? Are you writing bits every day, or do you set a time aside?
I don't write every day. Like, I got one of those minds that are forever ticking. Like, I probably got insomnia because I don't sleep well. So things come into my head, and then I'll just note them down. And then I'll probably expand on them later on. Or some days I'll just allocate time, just time lockdown, and just write. But I have to be in that space. I have to be in that frame of mind. You understand? I got to be in that frame of mind to write in the first place. But yeah, I don't write every day. And sometimes I simply cannot write. Sometimes I don't feel like writing. Sometimes I don't want to write. Sometimes I need to be in certain places to write. Sometimes I write better in different places. Like, it just sounds a bit odd. But I write better in my bedroom than I feel like I can write downstairs. It sounds odd, but I write better in my bedroom. I seem to get into a deeper place when I write. And if I go to Jamaica and go up in the hills and I don't have my phone, I don't have no disturbances, and it's just me one sitting on the hill, and I can just pen. Like, so yeah, I just write when I feel like yeah, something's come to my head. And throughout my day, throughout my life, things come up, people say things that get me thinking. Out my phone, and I make notes. Like, everything goes in my notes, and then I leave it there, and then later on I go back to it and I just expand on my thoughts. Before you know it, wow, look, that book done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying everyone's got a story, because every day we're going through life's journey, innit? Every day we go through life's journey.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Talking about life's journey, and this is, I spoke to King and Ruddy about this. And you do a lot of affirmations, right, on your status. And I was going through the city centre this last week, right, and I remember the days when I was going through city centre and window shopping. Now, I'm not saying that I can go city centre and buy whatever I want, but I sure don't have the window shop now.
Yeah.
And it just made me start reflecting on my life and thinking, I don't know where that came from, Terry, to be honest. I don't know why it came in my mind, but it started to make me look at what I've got and start being more grateful for things. And I sent you that clip from Steve Harvey, where he mentioned that he had to take a step back because he wasn't getting what he wanted at the time. There's certain deals that he wanted and he weren't getting them. But when he looked back, he thought, do you know what? God's blessed me with all these things. I need to be a little bit grateful for it. And then it made me think of you and your affirmations and gratitude. So I wanted to ask you, right, why do you think it's so important for things like that, like having gratitude and just looking at what you've got basically and being grateful?
I think it's really important to show gratitude, because I know that I wasn't just propelled here. Like, I've had to stand on shoulders of very, very strong men and very, very strong women. So no, I couldn't have got to this point without the help and support of others. And I couldn't have got there. Impossible. I don't feel like I can. So I always show gratitude. One, for who's helped me along the way. Show gratitude for the journey even the highs and lows. Because without the lows, it probably wouldn't have propelled me to get higher. Without the knockbacks, you get me? Because you don't use strength to fall. Naturally, because of gravity, you just fall. Your strength comes from picking up. You need strength to get back up, not to drop, because gravity is going to push you down anyway. So I think in life, you have to look at every aspect, the downs, I have to then say to myself, I got knocked down, but then I have to realize I got to be grateful for the people around me that helped me pick back up. You know what I mean? And I've been through that journey where I've been very, very low. I got a chapter in my book called My Dark Days. I didn't think I'd get out of that tunnel. There's times I thought, there's no getting out of this. There's no me going back to the Terry that everybody else knows. There's no way. But I have to be grateful for the people and God, because I'm a believer in God. I have to be grateful for those people and for God to help me through those times, because those are the people that I leaned on and that stood up strong as well to allow me to stand firm. So gratitude is important, man. Never forget where you're coming from. Like, never ever forget no matter how heights or how much success or how much money and all that comes with, because what goes up can come down, and you can lose all that in a day. And the same people you see on your way up, the same people you're gonna buck up and if you're gonna come back down.
Yeah.
So I'm always grateful. You know what I mean? I always throw out positive affirmations. That helps me as well, because that's part of my own personal therapy as well as therapy for others. Because I know that I'm not, I'm not in a cocoon. I'm not isolated. Like things that I go through, somebody somewhere going through the very similar or same thing. And my few words can just make a change for their day, as it has with other people, other things that I've read, other people that supported me to get to where I am today. They've helped me, so nothing to help back. Always grateful, man. Always grateful.
See, from the BRO-SIS day, because I've always, we've gone through BRO-SIS, like there's 3 of us in the room that's gone through that BRO-SIS day. So you've always been that helping, right? But the question I wanted to ask you though, which is interesting to me, because I forgot to ask you on the last time, when you look back, right, at the old Terry, right, and you see Terry now, is there anything from the old Terry that you miss? Or have you just put that Terry to rest? Because the person that I see now is completely...
You know what? It's really the same Terry, I just got on a different suit of armor because I'm facing different challenges. But it's the same Terry. I'm still driven, still focused. I'm still supportive. I'm still a helper. So it's the same Terry as I was then. I'm just doing things slightly different, but I'm still like, in terms of when I was at BRO-SIS, I was still a humanitarian.
Yeah.
And I'm still a humanitarian now. But just that I do things differently, so probably on a bigger scale than I was doing then. Yeah. So that means that smaller circle of people would have seen I was doing that. Whereas now, probably, governments in different parts of the world are now seeing what he's doing. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just feel like I'm the same person in that aspect. In terms of how I think and my whole behavior, some of my behaviors of the past, I got to put behind me because it changes with growth, age, maturity, and responsibility. So as I got older, since BRO-SIS, and wiser and more responsibilities, I've had to change and put some of that whole Terry, especially when it comes to behaviors, not necessarily thinking or thought process, especially behaviors. Some stuff I've had to put behind me. Yeah. Because no longer conducive to how I live my life now. I live my life totally different from how I lived my life then. Yeah. In certain aspects. But I still feel like I'm still the same. I'm still the same Terry. Yeah. And I think real is going to recognize real. So if you were always authentic, you would have recognized my authenticity. So you and I will always relate. If back then we couldn't relate, probably not going to be able to relate now neither.
And that's the thing, because the thought process, I believe the thought process is the same, but it's more outward looking now. Yeah. People see, you wouldn't have saw it unless you have dialogue, right? People wouldn't see it. But
platforms on it. Platforms. Back in my day, we still had vinyl and we got into cassettes, TDK. I'm just saying, like, there's platforms now. We never had podcasts, and stuff like that to kind of share stuff. So even this as an opportunity, like I never had this opportunity to. I don't know. I'll speak to someone today again. Like, think about it. I would say, see, my greatest work isn't in my books. I always felt like my greatest work is working in HIV and changing those lives around the world. I always feel like that's my greatest work, and that's what I'm really passionate about. Traveling the world and making changes to people's lives, then make changes to people's lives, and so on and so on and so on. But because we never had these platforms, and also because of stigma and stuff, but because we never had the platforms, I wasn't at that time able to go and push that narrative all the time. I can speak to community groups, I can speak to NHS, I can speak to a bag of youths, but I never had a platform to like this here now where I can jump on and talk about it. Yeah. So yeah, man, platforms have definitely changed. Yeah. Changed how things are steered and how accessible we are now with our stories. Yeah. 100%.
When did the mindset change though? Like, if you can think, when do you think the mindset started to change for you? Like, and was it a thing where it was a change that you wanted to, you've just gravitated to the change, or was you forced to say, do you know what? Enough is enough.
Bro, if I'm totally honest, I've had different mindset changes. So I always had a mindset that I was going to do well. I was going to be great. I was going to make my mum proud. always going to try and be the best father I can be. Yeah. So I always had that mindset. But I think in terms of a one particular turning point in my life is when my brother died. And that made me not only look at my mindset, but also look at how I live and ensure that I live my life a certain way. Because I don't know if anyone's ever had an electric shock to their system, but that was a shock to my whole system, from my toe to my head. So I think once my brother died, it was a whole life change for me. And that made me change how I am, change a lot. It changed a whole heap about me, my thinking, how I value life, how I value time, how I treat people, how I allow people to treat me, who I'm around, energies, non-energies, being able to simply say no and not feel guilty about it. Whereas before, maybe back them days, I was probably more of a yes man them days. Anybody reach out to me, tell you, yeah. But I think my brother done the same thing and burnt himself out. So when things happen in your life, I change my perspective now. Like, I won't necessarily answer to every call. You understand? I won't necessarily jump to everything. I'll tell you, can you do this? Tell you, can you do that? I won't do that now. Whereas before, at one point, I would have said, yeah, because you think that's the right thing to do. Someone wants help, you better help them. But some people ain't willing to help themselves. So, yeah, I look at things differently. But the biggest turning point for me in my life was when my mum died last year. And losing my mum didn't affect me the way, and some people may not agree, but losing my mum didn't affect me the way losing my brother affected me, because one of my mum was older. So there's expectation that, okay, she's going to go at some point soon. But losing my brother at a young age, because he was young. I'm 15, he was 57. Losing my brother at a young age, and how I lost him, like it's a sudden heart attack, and then finding him dead at home, that just, I don't know, it just took a part of me that I didn't know even existed. Like, I didn't realize that I personally could, because you go through life thinking, yeah, man, you're sorted, you're good. I didn't realize personally that I could be hit. You know, maybe I believed my own hype for too long, that I was, not saying it was non-emotional, but I didn't think that I could get hit off my stool so easily, and then struggle to get back on, and then start to worry about, will I ever get back on, which is a second worry. So one worry is getting on, the second worry is thinking in my head, oh my life, am I ever going to get back to the normal? So like, then we were like, that was probably the most challenging time, the most hardest time for me personally. And I still struggle now. I say it to some people, be the way of success. For every time I become successful, so for every win I have, it literally breaks me. And people only see it as, yeah, man, you're winning again. But every time I win, it breaks me, because I think I'm winning without him. And remember, he put me on. I didn't know nothing about business, didn't know nothing about success. I didn't know nothing about how to deal with people. And he was like, even as my brother, fully played the father's role for me. So though people see the wins, believe in me, for every win, be it my first book, second book, third book, hit Forbes, all the wins that I've had, bro, I swear, every time I win, I celebrate, and then it literally breaks me, because it always brings me back to the same place. Like, I wish he was here, just because I know that, one, he's proud of me, and two, I feel like I owe him. Go back to your gratitude. Like, I owe him to say, I've done well because of the efforts and the sacrifices you made for me, because he had to have made sacrifices. You know what I mean? The times when I'm not focusing, he's had to leave what he's doing to come to me and give me these long lectures to make sure I get back on track. You know, all these little bits. His network, put him in touch with people that then now become my people, that have helped me to open up doors. So with the success, bro, it is weighty for me personally. And I says, though I win, bro, I have to show the wins, because they probably want to see the wins. But behind the wins, if I'm going to be totally honest, behind the wins, I take my own personal losses. You know, and that's how, I don't know. I'm going to keep winning. So I guess I'm always going to be feeling this way until, if I ever get out of counseling. But it's hard, man. It's hard. And gratitude for me is a big thing, man. And I owe a lot to my big brother. You know, man, continue to rest in peace. And I'm gonna keep trying to make him proud. You know, so you know, it's a weird balance because I'm trying so hard to make him proud, but at the same time, I get a knockback during the process. But the strength is, I feel like I'm more driven to keep making him proud than I am to, and I just have to deal with my own issues as time goes on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the thing is, you are, because with the things that you're doing and you're keeping him, because every time we've had our discussions, he plays a big part of the discussions that we have. You know, he's there in the conversations. I'm also a deep thinker, right? And I look at certain things, and anybody knows me, they see sometimes I'll put songs up on my status, right? And sometimes they're messages that only people that will think deep will know what's going on. And the reason why I'm saying this is that you mentioned the Forbes, and I looked at the Forbes, and even sometimes I look at it now, that picture, and you've got, and I think it's in your book as well, where you've got the thing over your mouth, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but as you're talking about the weight of success, and for every win, there's that knockback. What came in my mind was that picture, right? With that
powerful picture that is.
Yeah, and I think, okay, that picture tells 1,000 stories, and one of the stories could be that this is a win, but I'm not shouting up about it because I'm feeling things inside.
Yeah, man, 100%. Remember, see, success is what it feels like over than what it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, so success for me is what it's what works for me inner, and what makes me feel that's where success lies. Because the truth is, most people have great success. A lot of people don't show their wealth anyway. You know what I mean? Anybody who's really wealthy doesn't show their wealth as such. So it's about success for me is what works for me internally. So that very picture is saying, like, you know, the story doesn't necessarily have to come out my mouth, but it can come out my eyes. I ain't gotta say it, but who can resonate to that will understand that I don't need to say I'm on Forbes, but I don't need to say it because it's a long story. I didn't just land on Forbes. You know what I mean? I had to be broken, and I was broken many a times before I hit that. You know, I'm still gonna struggle after the photo shoot. I'll probably struggle before the photo shoot. You know, it's deep, and I think the more we can speak about it and be open about it, probably help the next brother, the next man from the ends that's gonna break through and make it work for him. And hopefully you can relate and say, you know what, my man had to deal with this, or my man took this route, and if it makes his journey just a slight little bit easier, then our work is done, you know, or part of our work is done. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's a journey, man. It's a journey. It's got its highs, just me.
And everyone in this room, because just to go back on when you was talking about, you know, the loss and the major hit, everyone in this room has lost someone significant to them. And we've all had individual conversations, But while we've been talking, you know, what has been going through my mind is we've had individual conversations. Well, we haven't had a conversation. I think this is probably the first time collectively that we're talking collectively in the same room. So on because you talked about doing a book about bereavement, but there's nothing out there for me. Well, there probably is, but I'm just talking about our community now. When you say like the circle of the mandem, if you want to say, there's nothing that we get together and talk about this.
True.
Did you even have anything though, like, or is it an individual? Because we've all been on individual journeys.
Yeah. Like, it's funny, you know, because I don't, even when it comes to family, bro, like, only when I got older did I realize that sometimes family just linked through blood, not linked through energy, not linked through authenticity. It's just born into this family, it's blood related. So even when it comes to family, I speak more to my counsellor than I speak to family members about how I feel. You know, I guess I've counselled and having a judgment, and also counsellor probably they're not carrying any emotion attached to my issues, where the family member might have their own view on that person that I'm feeling sad about, but you might not feel that. So I'm talking to you about how sad I'm feeling. You didn't like the person, so you're like, oh yeah, here we go again. You know what I mean? So when it comes to the whole man's talking, I do believe everything's kind of pre-planned. So the energies would have put 5 kings in one room. We've all gone through a very similar journey. Those journeys are similar, but also have a different story, and that we feel comfortable enough or free enough to be able to just openly speak about it. Because if you check, I've done a bag of interviews, and most of my interviews, ask my daughter, because my daughter says it all the time, most of my interviews are kind of prior to interviewing. Set myself up a little bit and say to myself, actually, hold it together. Hold it together, hold it together, hold it together. And a lot of the interviews, if it's so weird. But yeah, it is weird because I'm thinking like all like my BBC and my Sky interviews and that. I feel like I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I can rock it, but just so happens that I sit in a room full of another 4 kings, and I feel like I'm all right to be vulnerable. I'm okay to cry. I'm okay to be upset because we're kings and we're gonna understand each other's journeys. We're from the end. We've all lost someone, and I didn't know that we've all lost someone. But I'm just saying I feel comfortable. So you must believe that energies don't lie, bro. Energies don't lie. Because I feel like if I was to go on Sky News tomorrow, I probably wouldn't break down. Probably tell my story upright like this. Yeah, it's been a tough journey. You know what I mean? But one gets through it. One gets through it. However, I feel like energies don't lie. So we're here for a purpose. It's good that as men you can share, and if you can have bigger platforms or bigger discussions on bereavement and grief and being able to be vulnerable and not feel no way about it, being able to be open about our feelings, then I think it can only be better for us and for the generation to come. Because the generations behind us have held so much in and released it differently through anger, through violence, through all of our different things. If we can kind of change that narrative, then we're on to a winner, I'd say.
Yeah. Something that I would like to do, because something I always think about is in the community, we know people that's either been stabbed, shot. There's people that's lost their life through violence as well. And the friends are still here living, close ones as well that's been lost. And I always think about them because some of the ones that are still actively, on the road. And I always think about them in terms of put aside whatever they're doing on the road. How are they feeling in terms of they just lost a friend to gun violence or knife crime? But actually, how do you recover from that? Because I know when I've lost significant people in my life, I know how that's affected me, and everyone in this room's been affected. But how are they? Because what we see is, on the road, you're doing whatever you're doing, but how are you really feeling? And I don't think there's any kind of like environment, unless they're doing it like out of town and going to counseling or what have you. But I don't think that you can fully function going through something traumatic like that. Yeah. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You can't go through something that traumatic and it just does not affect you at all.
Someone somewhere built up this taboo about and counseling doesn't work for everyone. But what we've got to remember is there's counseling and then there's counseling. So there's that professional counseling where you go in and sit down for an hour. You know what I mean? There's that counseling. There's bereavement counseling. There's trauma counseling. There's different levels of counseling. But this is counseling. This is counseling. It's just reason with your virgins is counseling. People that you can trust. People that you feel okay to be open with. And there's been a taboo against counselling, especially amongst black mans. Like counselling shows a sign of weakness. Mans that want to go and share their story with a stranger. Man feel like they're weak, offensive to go and break down. And there's that taboo. And so a lot of mans and just would not do it. And if they do it, they won't be open about it. Yeah. To encourage somebody else, like it's okay to do it because I'm doing it, you know. But yeah, man, there's a taboo against black men open up and saying, I'm not 100 and I need help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pride. There's a lot, man. There's a lot of reasons, I guess, why we don't open up enough.
Yeah.
But I encourage it though.
Yeah.
And I encourage it and I promote it because it worked for me. Maybe if it didn't work for me, I probably wouldn't promote it. But I've seen the results. I'm seeing the results day in, day out. And people around me that are close to me are seeing the results. So I promote it, man. Whatever works for you though. So once again, it could be the counselling amongst your brothers, it could be church, it could be a professional counsellor, whatever works for you. But don't just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because nothing plus nothing equals nothing.
Going on to the church, right? How much of a part does religion play in your life now?
Maybe not religion, but spirituality. So spirituality plays more part in my life than religion does. I'm a deeper spiritual thinker than I'm a religious person. So I do go to church. I go to church, you know, every Sunday. And I go to church because I have a personal relationship with God. Not necessarily a relationship with the church, not necessarily a relationship with the pastor. Like, if the pastor thinks I'm a rebel, that's his prerogative. Like, God knows me and I know God. My relationship with him, because I know I've felt the spirits of God. I know I've been on my knees, and I know that I've asked for certain things, and they've come into fruition. I know I've said thank you, and I felt like my message has reached. So it's more about a spiritual relationship rather than religion itself. But like I go to church, but a lot of people might think, yeah, but you're not a Christian. I say, well, for that hour and a half, or 2 hours, I'm focused. You know, I would believe better to believe in something than believe in nothing at all. So I go to church. And the thing is, when I was younger, I was forced to go to church by my parents. Now I'm older and I'm wiser. I've made my own decision to go to church and just give thanks. It's important that we give thanks. Don't always just ask for help. Don't wait till your back's against the wall before you're asking God for help. I go and I give thanks for my blessing because I know, and I wake up every day knowing that I'm blessed. I'm blessed certain ways. So I go and give thanks. Yeah, man, church is good, man. Church is good. And I always say, I didn't go around looking for the perfect church. I just go around looking to worship the perfect God. Understand? So this can be our church. Church the building. This can be our church. We can come here every day of the week if we wanted to and reason about bits in the Bible, understand or don't understand. This can be our church. You know what I mean? So I'm cool. I'm cool being more spiritual than I am religious.
Personal relationship with God. Is that not the same as being religious?
No, because I believe religion is a set of rules. I believe religion is a set of rules. Some have been tweaked. Man have had their little inputs. I believe, and it could vary. It could be a Christian, but there's that many denominations of Christianity. You know, some Christians say, like, some will do certain things and some don't do other things. So I think religion is those rules that has been set for you to abide by. Spirituality, it's your inner feeling, the inner rules that come from, you know, what's right from what's wrong. Like, we were never taught to crawl. We might teach to walk, but we were never taught to crawl. Our inner self had to tell us from my belly, in order to move, I've got to figure out how to get from A to B. then we kind of started to crawl. And then your parents might put you in a stroller and says, strengthen your legs and learn to walk. It's the same with spirituality. It's inbound. It's what's inside you. It's not necessarily what the set of rules that somebody else gives you, that if you come into this religion, you must follow these rules. You know what I mean? Because then, to me, then you're kind of drawn towards the relationship you have with that denomination. Whereas my spirituality is what is my relationship with God personally.
Yeah.
It's not about me and the church. It just so happens that I go to a church. It's not about my relationship with the church. It's about my relationship with God. So I separate them. I separate spirituality from religion.
Are you accepted in the church though? Because some churches may have a bit of a problem with that in terms of, because you said rules in it, and you know what churches are like. There's certain rules, rules.
None of us, the wall are we, including the wall of the church, brother, come with flaws. Come like you see a man's outer, but you don't see them heart. So the same church man or same woman that's dressed to the nines and looking the part, you don't know what's in their thoughts. They might be thinking, look on sister and me over his shoes. I'm just saying it's a bad thought, but we're never going to know that thought, innit? You understand? We're never going to know the thoughts of the next person unless they say it out loud. We're never going to know the thoughts. So in my church, bro, there's a clear understanding, and most of the youths that come to my church, we're non-Christians, just believe in God, and they accept us. They accept us because it's better to believe in something than to believe in nothing. And things that we're happy to, that we'll question things. We'll say, yeah, but how comes that's written there and that's not said there, blah, blah, blah. Where's the other books of the Bible that was written? Why are they not, where's the hidden books? Why were they taken out if it's a full story? All the questions. So they accept us. Some in the church might not accept us. Once again, it's not about me and them, bro. It's not about me and them. Yeah.
Because you sent me a clip as well, right? Of you standing up, and is that what you do regularly? Like when you do go to church, you stand up and...
I feel a vibe. I get up and I say my piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I did. Like if I feel a vibe, I get up and I'll just say my piece. And it's not necessarily always... There might be bits that I might have researched in the Bible, but more time, it's not biblical. But somewhere in the Bible it's in there. If I said to you, boy, yeah, man, I love my fellow man, I might not be able to quote where it is in the Bible. It's in there somewhere. If I said to you, yo, don't be so mixed up, man. It might not be biblical, but somewhere in the Bible, it's somewhere. Because and even if it's not in the books that we're privy to, if God, in all his powers, created it all, everything under him would have to come through him. So it's there somewhere. So sometimes when I speak at church, I can't relate to, I don't know where it is in the Bible. I just speak from my heart.
Yeah.
I speak from my heart. And then if one go look it up afterwards and say, I said somewhere in Ephesians, it did it. Yeah. I speak my truth, and my church respect that. And the youths that come to church with me can relate to my story. They can relate to when we're speaking about certain things, because the church itself might not mention certain things. Like I'm talking about Bonnie Reed and that, blah, blah, blah. The church ain't going to mention it. They're not going to mention it, but I am. So accept me or allow me in it. Once again, if you don't accept me as the church, though my church accepts me as I am, if you don't accept me as a church, that's cool. Because I'm not looking for validation from you. My relationship with him. You understand? The unseen God.
Do you study the Bible, or is it would you ever start studying the Bible to connect some of the dots in terms of, as you mentioned, you talk something, it's in the Bible, but you may not necessarily know what part of the Bible it is.
Yeah, I'd ask someone I know who knows the Bible. I'd ask them, like, where are the references? And there's Bibles as well that you can have, where they got topics and they'll show you where the references are in the Bible. So
yeah, I've got one of them.
Right, so you come with this, you think of the subject, and then they can refer where in the Bible this is spoken about. So you can do it that way. Or I can ask a member of the church that, but once again, if there are books that have been taken out of our Bible from slavery days and so on. If the particular books that have been taken out, then those will also need to be researched and asked the question, why are they not in the Bible?
Yeah.
You know, that we all can just read every day. Why are they separate? Why are they taken out?
Yeah.
What's wrong with those words? So take a deep. That's what I'm saying now. I'm cool with my spirituality. You know what I mean? I'm cool with that.
Is this another part of the journey, your journey, that you're kind of like processing the religion side, or is it something that was all, because you said before you was forced to go and yeah. When did it start back? Is that
I've always gone to church, you know?
Yeah.
I've always gone to church. You know, I used to go to my mum's church, which I found boring. I used to go to my mum's church, and I've always gone to church. My auntie said, come to church, we'd go, but it wasn't like a regular thing. It was more about, when I now come to church, when I go out Saturday nights, when I can't wake up one Sunday and come, and then I might say to my virgin church, just to shut her up. Let's go to church, bro. Let's just jump up and go. Let's say, yeah, we're going to do what we've got to do afterwards. And then for that reason, but now I make it my own personal duty that I want to go to church because I like being in church on a Sunday. So once again, it's back to me again. It's not about no other forces, no push. And it's not part of my journey because I've always gone to church. Just now, I'm older and wiser. You know, I don't need to be taken to church because I can drive to church. You know,
yeah,
that kind of thing. You know, it's like kids grow up in it. You don't need to pick them up and say, hey, they can come to me now. You know, it's just different. You know what I mean?
Terry, you know what? We could sit here and talk all evening, you know, because this is definitely like a counselling session, right? And I can see there's a part 3. There's a part 3. We're going to get a part 3 in before the end of the year, right? Therefore, get a part 3 in before the end of the year. But you know what I want to ask you before I wrap things up, right, is what is the one thing that you think everyone should know? It could be anything, but the one thing that you think people should know, something that you're doing, or
about me,
or not about you, but could be about you, but it could be a book that you're reading. It could be something of interest. What is something that you think that you're doing that everyone should know?
I'm doing. I think everyone should just know that I'm trying my hardest. I'm trying to be a better man every day. And I'm not in competition with my past. I'm just trying to be better for tomorrow. So everyone needs to know that I'm trying.
Perfect. Terry, you see when these books are written, we want a exclusive session, autographs, and talk about, you can, when you're part of your press run, right, and you've got all these ITVs, BBCs.
You think I won't holler at you when I'm at the press conference? You think I won't be saying to you, yo, bro, bring your stuff, bro?
Just make sure that we're part of this press run.
Yeah, man.
Right? We want to be on this press run.
Yeah, man. Bring your stuff, man. Bring your stuff. And I didn't sure I said, not you. Stephen, you got a question?
Terry, thanks for coming up. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, man. And Kings, man, let's continue to fix each other's crowns. You get me? Yeah, man.
Dude, listen, good luck with everything. You've got our full backing. Listen, you see the book. We've got your book on our table. So you've got our full blessing. Terry, thanks for coming up.
God bless me. Good thanks.
Bless, bro.